a year, and so not only are we here to do some important bill signing, we're also having a chance to see each other again, so thank you for this opportunity. We are so grateful, the governor and other distinguished elected officials, community leaders, and of course our Board of Trustees, our chair, Dr. Catherine D'Ambrosio, and our trustee, Eben Pobey, are here today to join us on focusing on a shared commitment to take real action on climate change. As we begin, I'd like us to take a moment to reflect upon this beautiful land that we call Shoreline and Shoreline Community College. The land where we now sit once served as a special place to the Duwamish and Suquamish people. It was a place to gather traditional foods in ways that increased the bounty of their community. And as a community college, it is now our responsibility to carry that stewardship of this land forward and honor those who came before us. As stewards of that land, we understand sustainability as an important principle. For the past few years, we have been recognized by the Tree Arbor Foundation as a Tree Campus USA college for our commitment to sustainability and maintaining the canopy of our trees. In 2009, we launched a clean energy technology program that continues to serve and be responsive to the industry. Our automotive program is nationally and internationally recognized for closing the gap between automotive dealers and manufacturers to educate the highest level of industry-prepared technicians focused on evolving energy efficiency innovations. And in 2018, Shoreline became one of 5 colleges in the nation to host the Tesla Start program. And we're focused on sustainable vehicle technology. And this fall, we're going to be one of 2 colleges in the nation to host the Tesla Solar program, which they will help in advanced innovations in solar technology technician training. Here at Shoreline, as you can see, we're committed to sustainability, and our workforce training programs clearly demonstrate that these 2 values are not mutually exclusive. We are living proof that Washington can reduce greenhouse gas emissions and also provide reliable, high-performing, and high-wage jobs. We know that sustainable energy and green technology jobs are critical to the future of Washington, and we're really prideful to be a leader in that workforce solution. We know that when our students succeed and our industries are successful, our college succeeds. So with that, I'd like to welcome all of you, and please join me in welcoming our governor, Jay Inslee. Governor Inslee.
Well, thank you so much for that introduction. I am pleased to be here. This institution was the first place to have a solar installer certification program in the United States. This institution gets clean energy jobs. Congratulations. Thank you for hosting this. You know, we're all proud Washingtonians every day, and particularly today. And I think we are best when we lead the nation. I think we are best when we fight for that which we cherish. I think we are at our best when we think long-term and dedicated our time on earth to the health of our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren. For that reason, I believe we are at our best today in Washington State by adopting the best climate change policies in America today. And that's what we're doing. And it is altogether fitting and proper that we do so. We've got the most beautiful mountains in the United States. We've got the most beautiful grandchildren in the United States. We've got the most beautiful forests in the United States. So you're darn right, we should have the best climate policies in the United States. And that's why I'm excited to be with you here today. And the action we're taking today is most timely because we cannot wait one more day for this action. Our children who are struggling for breath because of an epidemic of asthma cannot wait. Our burning forests with thousands of acres that have been burned in the last few years cannot wait. Our heated rivers where the water is so hot that it's literally killing our salmon cannot wait. Our farmers who are seeing their fields dry up cannot wait. The age of the consequences is upon us, and that is why we have to take action today. And I am so just thrilled to see our state coming together to take the bold action on these bills that we will sign today. Now, there are multiple bills. We have a lot to celebrate. But each one of them will do something more than fight climate change. Now, it's not a bad day when you fight climate change. Nothing wrong with fighting climate change. But the bills we're going to do here today, I believe, are some of the strongest economic development bills we have ever passed in the history of the state of Washington. And the reason I believe that is that you cannot turn a rock over in this state without finding people with good paying new jobs and new industries. In Burlington, where Silfab is now hiring another 100 people to make solar panels. In Spokane, where we have some of the world's best cross-laminated timber. In Port of Vancouver, where we're bringing in wind turbines that will now create revenue for farmers in eastern Washington. In the biofuels production facilities that are there and we want to expand in Grays Harbor. This is a jobs package to solve climate change, and we ought to talk about it as a jobs package. We're going to put people to work with these bills. That's what we're doing. Let's start with the clean fuel standard of the several bills we're going to sign. Today we join the West Coast of the United States and British Columbia in adopting a clean fuels standard. We know that cleaner fuels give us cleaner air to breathe. We know that transportation is our largest single sector of air pollution, so cleaning up our fuels is the best thing we can do for the breathing of our children. I just signed the HEAL Act, another great act, and talked about a woman named Jasmine. I met a 14-year-old Latinx young woman on the banks of the Duwamish a decade ago who told me she was 11 years old until she found out there were some kids who didn't have asthma because all her friends had asthma. The Clean Fuel Standard is an anti-asthma bill. Our children deserve to breathe, and our people deserve cleaner fuels at a reasonable price. And don't let anybody give you that swill that somehow it's going to increase prices. These bills are in effect. They work. You can drive cars in California, Oregon, and British Columbia today, and we're going to join them with cleaner fuels. That's what we're doing with this bill. And it's going to give us more choices. Look, we don't want to be addicted to some foreign oil source. Let's use clean, renewable sources right here in the state of Washington. So I'm happy about that bill, but it is just the beginning. And it is exciting to know it was just the beginning. Because I will be signing Senate Bill 5126, the Climate Commitment Act. And this bill the Climate Commitment Act is going to cap carbon pollution. The people of the state of Washington deserve a concrete, enforceable, pragmatic, economically growth-oriented limitation on pollution that they don't have to breathe. Washingtonians deserve that, and we're going to give it to them this year. A cap that will also create revenues for clean energy investment to help communities deal with the consequences of climate change and put people to work. This is great policy, and it's none too soon. Importantly, the bill addresses the environmental injustice that we have suffered for too long. The HEAL Act is obviously one step in that. But this bill will make sure that we target these investments to these overburdened communities. So we target it in the places that have been harmed the most. And we are committed in doing that in a dialogue with those who've lived the life in overburdened communities as well. We know at the same time that we bring environmental health, we have to bring environmental justice. And I'm pleased to sign an environmental justice bill today. And I'm proud to say this, and I will say this, look, I respect the other 49 governors. They got nice states. There's a few states that are somewhat pretty compared to Washington. But I will tell you what, I'm signing the best environmental justice bill in the United States today, and I'll tell all my governor colleagues they got to catch up with me, and I hope they do. That's what we're doing today. Finally, I'm going to be signing House Bill 1050, a bill that will hold businesses and companies accountable for reducing their greenhouse gas emissions from hydrofluorocarbons or fluorinated gases, including from stationary air conditioners, heat pumps, and legacy refrigeration units. Hydrofluorocarbons are one of the fastest growing sources of greenhouse gas emissions. Those little molecules are horrendously damaging. Altogether, they contribute nearly 4 million tons of pollution a year. These are bad molecules, and we got to clean them up. And I'm happy that we are doing that. So this state legislation is going to build on federal policies that significantly reduce this source of pollution. Now, we know what we're doing today is not the end of the road. We've got a heck of a job, a lot of work to do in the future. Our climate commitment that our legislators made is that by 2020, we will cut our pollution by 50% in the next 9 years on our pathway to a net zero climate pollution by 2050. This will not be easy, but these bills are enormous steps to get us there. And today, we are not just making a commitment, we are actually taking action. We are giving people not just promises, but what they deserve, meat on the bone against climate change. And I want to thank the legislators for doing this. So looking out in the crowd here, it's very difficult for me to mention individuals who have been on this long road that has been a multi-decadal road for many of us. I see Marco out there did great work. I see Mike Mann out there. I just see so many people that have worked for so long on these bills. And I hope we celebrate them, and I hope we understand the consequences of inaction. I think, you know, the longer I'm in this business, the more I understand perseverance is maybe the most fundamental renewable energy, and everybody in this room has shown it. Vlad, everybody else, I want to thank you for being part of this effort. You have buoyed me up, you have inspired me, you have given me confidence, you have shown me we have an endless reserve of intention not to give up this struggle. And I want to thank everybody in this room, particularly Trudy, so that every night I've come home for the last 25 years Trudy told me this day would come, and verily it has. So thank you, Trudy, for being part of this effort. Now with this, I've got to turn this over. By the way, I want to mention Joe Fitzgibbon. So many people have been so effective in this. Joe has been an absolute hero. He's on the road right now. He can't be with us. But his spirit has invested us throughout this. And if you see Joe, you got to pat that guy in the back. How about a round of applause for Joe Fitzgibbon? And I'm going to yield now to Senator Reuven Carlisle, who has been a super champ in the Senate. His aspirations exceeded almost anyone at the beginning of this session. He was a leader who wanted to lift our ambitions at the beginning, the middle, and the end of the session. And his acumen and his listening skills and his determination have been a major reason for this bill. So give it up for Reuven Carlisle coming up here.
Thanks so much, Governor. Appreciate it. Welcome. Fabulous to have everybody here. Please do me the great honor of expressing your gratitude to my colleagues, Senator Elias, Senator Das, Representative Lekanoff, Representative Shoemake, Representative Ryu, and the other elected officials who are here who have given so much of their service. Please thank my colleagues. So today, I don't really have a bunch of words about the importance of climate action because we know on every level, to our core, that it is the issue of our time. We know that we can grow our economy with good jobs, with equity and environmental justice, with a lower carbon footprint, and we can show the pathway forward. So today is about gratitude and appreciation. It's about inspiration, of course. It's about hope. And it's about our deeper civic engagement that leads us to this very moment. And I, of course, want to start with gratitude toward my wife, Dr. Wendy Carlisle, my son Zev, and all of our 4 kids. Thank you so much. The good and the gracious, the dignified, the entrepreneurial, the passionate, the spirited people of America's 36th Legislative District who give me the honor to be their voice in the state Senate. And my Senate colleagues who have given me the honor of being lead on climate for our chamber. So the past 3 years in Washington have been unparalleled, in large part because of our governor, and in large part because of all the work of everyone here. We have, since the previous Senate Republican majority handed me the gavel of the Environment Committee, we have passed a couple of small bills, the strongest 100% clean energy bill in the nation, the Clean Fuel Standard that the governor will sign, the Climate Commitment Act, hydrofluorocarbons, a state statute that has a binding commitment to Paris Accord level emission reductions, commercial building standards, the entire electrification strategy of our transportation sector, and so much more. And all of it embedded with high-quality labor standards and high-quality environmental justice and equity guiding principles. That's not a typo. It's not a department down the hall. It's something real and something authentic built into the very DNA of that legislation. So we all have that image in our mind. We've seen those pictures of an iceberg. And above the waterline, in that iceberg, you see the majesty of the ice glimmering in the sun. But underneath, the unseen part is even larger. And that is the essence, the foundation of the below water part of the iceberg. In this work, the governor, Representative Fitzgibbon, myself, all of us who are sponsors of the bills and who work, we're above the line, we're seen, but below the line is the hard work, the dignified work, the advocacy, the pain, the passion, the essence of the work that brings us to this very moment. Years of work, decades of work, sending out emails, knocking on doors, advocating, doing campaigns. So to those people, so many of you in this room, as the governor said, to those of you who see yourself in the words and in the pages that make this climate work historic, thank you so much. Thank you, Isaac and Vlad, Drew, Becky, Darcy, Cliff, Mike, David, Lauren, Chris, Reed, Jay, Mia, Guy, Tom, Denny, Gary, Kim, Dennis, Tim, Deborah, Mary, Brian, and so many more, because you brought us to this very moment. Thank you. This morning we had a beautiful bill signing hosted by the Duwamish, and Representative Lekanoff shared some beautiful words, and she reminded us that every culture and every society and every community has a deep emotional and spiritual connection to the planet and to the civic work of making the world a better place. And we see in the springtime the rebirth, the renewal. And in the renewal, it is spiritual, it's emotional, it's physical, and that is the essence of a historic legislative accomplishment. It is a renewal of faith and of hope and of belief. And each culture has something meaningful that inspires us to live our best life. And as Representative Lekanoff was talking about, the native, the tribal connection to the earth. I was so moved. And I brought with me something that inspires my life. And here is a piece of a piece of wire from the Auschwitz concentration camp that I picked up when I was traveling there as a boy in college, young man in college. And every time it gets difficult and painful, I think about renewal and rebirth of my people. And that inspires me to do the work of public service. And every culture in the world has a respect for that renewal and that rebirth. And that is the essence of gratitude. And on occasion, taking a moment to feel gratitude and appreciation for all the cultures of the world's love and respect for our earth is a meaningful opportunity to appreciate all of us. So we need faith, we need values, and we need human connection to join together with our love and our belief in science. We need faith and we need science. We need data, we need inspiration. We need heart, we need soul, we need wisdom and intelligence and best practices from around the world, from the Nordic countries, from all over the world, bringing both of them together holistically for the essence of this type of meaningful work. We're living the values of action, of faith, of science, of the tangible and the intangible. And that is what inspires all of us to reach this very day. Thank you so much for the honor of being your partner in service. Thank you. Representative Shoemake.
Hi, I'm Sharon Shoemake, and I am the state legislator from Whatcom County, which makes me almost the northernmost Democrat, except for my seatmate. But my other job is I'm also an environmental economist, and I have been obsessing about carbon pricing for at least the last 20 years, because climate touches everything, right? It touches the air we breathe, but it's really hard to have a single economic activity without a carbon footprint. So it's this really, really hard problem to solve. But it's not a doomsday of this or that. It's more, the economy is a big ship, and we've got to move it into the lower carbon direction. And once we start to get it that way, it keeps moving that way more and more and more. And the work we did the year before builds on the work for the next year. And so being this economist, I became an economist because I took all these environmental classes, and it was all these stories of collapse. Right? The ecosystems were collapsing, and if you've been in an environmental policy class, you know these stories and that feeling of anxiety. But economists had answers. They had answers that were over 100 years old that worked. And the answers are, for air pollution, the atmosphere is not a dumping ground, and you have to set goals and have flexible ways of getting there. And so that's about getting the prices right. And so when I graduated from college, that was in 2002, I was sitting around waiting for us to get the prices right? Who's gonna get my 2 degrees Celsius compliant prices to me? When does that happen? Maybe it's happening today. I get the chills thinking about this. Do I have to run for office to get these prices? When does it happen? But since then, we've also learned a lot about the impact of carbon pricing. We see a paper that came out just last year that found that carbon pricing has no negative impact on either GDP or employment. In fact, it probably increases GDP and employment while also cutting carbon emissions. So what is this thing that saves the environment and doesn't have macroeconomic impacts? It's what we're passing today, what the governor is signing. We've also seen similar programs work better than expected. The SO2 trading system, signed in by Republican George H.W. Bush. And Governor, I realized earlier today that if you don't count RGGI, which is a smaller carbon pricing, you're going to be the first Democrat in America to sign a cap and trade bill. And when we look at SO2, what was so exciting about it is it was cheaper than expected, and the benefits were higher than expected. We find that it costs about $0.5 to $2 billion a year in compliance costs and creates $100 billion a year in benefits to human and ecosystem health. Pollution is expensive. And with smart, flexible policies like the 3 being signed today, we set ourselves into a trajectory of having the economy do its thing, of finding more and more efficiencies. And those efficiencies now don't treat the atmosphere as a dumping ground. These efficiencies are realizing that we need green, more reliable energy, high-paying jobs. And so it's funny because I'm a dismal scientist, right, as an economist, but I am so optimistic today for the work that's being done. And so I'm so excited about this, and I'm also so excited about calling up my friend Deborah Lacanoff, who is just below me, not quite as northern, to come and speak to you as well.
Well, thank you. It's wonderful to be here. So I wanted to just do something a little bit because every one of us are heroes today. Every one of us are climate change heroes. So if you guys just work with me here. If you all could just say this with me together. 1, 2, 3. Washington leads on climate. We want to thank every one of you. In my Slinket community, the way we say that is Goodis Cheesh Ho Ho. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Governor. Thank you very much to my senators, to my House of Representatives. I really want to thank you, Governor, for thanking and thinking of Joe. Now, 20 years ago, was it about 20 years ago, the governor was working really hard in Washington, D.C., talking about climate change when no one else wanted to talk about climate change and do the right thing. Native American tribes were walking with the governor, talking about climate change, and a new administration came along. Right, Governor? And they said, shh, we don't say climate change, we say global warming. What does the governor do? He says, we're going to call it climate change, and we're going to call it as it is. He stood at the federal level with environmental communities and with tribal communities, and he wasn't afraid to do the right thing. And then he came home. And he sat down with the tribes. He talked to the tribes in the ocean side who were already facing climate change. He talked to our environmental communities who were living in our most vulnerable communities, whose children couldn't breathe in Tacoma because of air pollution, whose children over in eastern Washington couldn't breathe because of the climate fires. He sat down and talked to the Swinomish tribe because their fish were so polluted from the cumulative impact. We live in 150 years of pollution-based economy, and Washington State today, by signing this bill, says we will no longer do that. We will address climate change because the house is on fire. Senator Carlisle is going to stand with us. Senator Leas, Senator Doss, Representative Fitzgibbon, Representative Ryu, Representative Shoemake, and many more will rise in the legislature and build upon the foundation that was built on one of the strongest climate change bills, that is a workforce economic development bill all wrapped up in one. We can't wait any longer, my friends. The very essence of my name, Hikshasi, comes from the very in-stream flow areas up in the mountains where cool and clean water and clean habitat exist. The impact of climate change will destroy that area. Therefore, my name will no longer exist. That name comes from time back to my grandmother. If that name dies due to climate change, because that area will die from the impact of climate change, I will not be able to pass it down for my daughter's daughter's daughter. We talked about justice. We honor and celebrate justice for climate, justice for cultural sustainability, justice for jobs, justice to be a Washingtonian, to have the right to live in a healthy environment and the right to fight climate change. Sometimes it's not always easy doing the right thing, as the governor put it, but we did it this year in Washington State. We came together. We had numerous legislators, all of us coming up with climate change ideas. Vlad and I I don't know how many times Vlad and I had conversations over and over in the past 3 years. Carlisle, you and I talking about different climate change. Senator Loveland talking about climate change. You know what that meant? We were all excited to do something. And this bill is the right thing to do. It is the right thing to do. It is our time to rise. Our children's children will look back at this time and say, thank you. You did it. My daughter's 17 and she schooled me on climate change. She said, Mom, what are you guys doing? Do I have to graduate and do the right thing, or are you guys going to do the right thing? And I said, no, we're doing the right thing, sister. I'll pause there, and I want to turn it over to someone who's worked hard on climate change. Him and I have sat on opposite sides of the tables, but you know what? We sat at the same table. That's what's so important about Vlad. That's about what's important about this bill. And thank you, Senator Carlisle, for your good words. It really meant a lot to me to hear from your heart, because we will renew who we are and where we come from, and we'll address climate change together at a full table, as the governor says, with everyone there. I think this man needs no introduction. He's a first-name type of guy. I'll turn the floor over to Vlad.
So you know this is an important bill because I haven't seen this many uncomfortable shoes in one room in about a year. So thanks everybody for being here. I'm pleased to be here with all of you. I want to thank Governor Inslee, not just for the opportunity to speak today, but for a lifetime commitment to climate action. So often when we hear that taking action on climate change is urgent, it's about doing something to safeguard our children or grandchildren's future. And it's true that it is. When my wife, Cassie, without whom I couldn't do this work, when we look at our 2-year-old small daughter, Rosie, we worry about what the world will look like when she's our age. But like a few people in this room, I'm a millennial. If the world stays on our current path, I will grow old on a planet where atmospheric carbon levels will be some 3 times what they were before humans started our dependence on fossil fuels. So yes, climate change is about future generations, but in a much larger sense, it is about people today and the world we live in and we will grow old in. Those of us who have to keep their children inside for weeks every summer because the air is too dangerous for them to breathe, and worse still, for those who gather their families and flee for safety away from fast approaching wildfires. We've already locked in a changed climate, but I'm so proud of these 3 laws as the legislature passed them, because they are built around the simple idea that we can make things better. Those thousands of advocates, activists, elected officials, half of whom Senator Carlisle listed off for us, who toiled for this day, were motivated by the idea that acting to tackle the climate crisis can help us create good jobs, it must advance the cause of racial justice, and it must begin to redress past harms and prevent future ones. The Climate Commitment Act, the Clean Fuel Standard, and our phase-out of superpollutants will help advance each one of these causes. There will be more work to do to make up for past harms and support tribal treaty rights and people of color, to enact a transportation package the state needs, and more, all of which I and others are profoundly committed to seeing through. But even with more work left to do, it was an honor of a lifetime to stand shoulder to shoulder with tribal nations and to support their treaty rights, with Black Lives Matter and Build Back Black Alliance, with working people from the sheet metal workers, the IBEW, nurses, my environmental colleagues at Washington Environmental Council, the Nature Conservancy, and many more. To work so closely with the governor's team and legislative leaders like Senator Carlisle and Saldana, Representative Fitzgibbon, Shoemake, Lekanoff, and many more, and to finally enact these laws, many of which are the fruit of over a decade of effort by people here and many more who couldn't be here today that made this possible. It is an honor to be here today when we can definitively say Washington will end its reliance on fossil fuels, will clean our air, and create a more widely shared prosperity that helps secure the safety and health of all of our residents. Washington will be a net zero state. Thank you. Love to introduce Commissioner Stephanie Bowman.
Thank you, and thank you, Vlad. So good afternoon, Stephanie Bowman with the Port of Seattle Commission. Thank you so much, Governor Inslee, number 1, for inviting the Port of Seattle to participate today, and to stand before you to thank you for all you legislators for all of your work. The Port of Seattle operate some of those state's most significant infrastructure assets that we have between SeaTac Airport and our marine terminals in Seattle and Tacoma. The significance of our assets were only underscored during the pandemic, when hundreds of thousands of workers had the privilege of working from home, and that was because our workers at the Port of Seattle and the Port of Tacoma worked on behalf of you. They worked on the docks, our truck drivers, our airport workers, and if you would join me in just a moment, thanking all of those workers that worked every day so our economy could keep going. Thank you. But let's be honest, running a port, it has a big carbon footprint, and we're aware of it every single day. That's why 5 years ago, my colleagues and I came together and set a goal to bring sustainable aviation fuels to SeaTac International Airport. We knew that it was the most significant way to clean up the air, not just in the city of SeaTac, not just for workers, but for all of our communities. It is the single biggest thing that we could do. But we couldn't do it alone. We needed the legislature and the governor to the legislature to pass and the governor to sign a clean fuel standard. That was the way that we create a market to produce these fuels in Washington State so they can be sold in Washington State, so they can come to SeaTac Airport. We have a great hometown carrier, Alaska Airlines, who is willing to lean into this. And your Port of Seattle Commission set that goal 5 years ago that our airlines would need to buy 10% of their fuels, sustainable aviation fuels. But again, we couldn't do it without the low carbon fuel standard. Thank you so much, all of the legislators in this room, for the work that you did. I'm going to call out here everybody, and I'm sure I'm going to miss somebody, but Senator Carlisle, you've been an old friend, and it's an honor to be here with you today, and thank you so much for all of your work over all of these years. I'm disappointed Representative Fitzgibbons couldn't be here because we all know the leadership that he's provided, as well as Representative Shoemake, Lakanoff. I know Cindy Ryu is out here somewhere. Senator Leah, Senator Doss, thank you for all of your work. Representative Slatter. Again, the Port of Seattle stands shoulder to shoulder with you in this work. We are here to reduce the carbon footprint at SeaTac Airport and our marine terminals. We need all of your help in that. Working together, we are creating the port of the future, not the port of the past, but the port of the future. A port that is fueled by sustainable energy and is connecting the world to the great green Pacific Northwest. Thank you for joining us in this journey. And with that, I'd like to introduce our very last speaker, Christina Bayana from Local 66.
As Stephanie said, my name is Christina Bayanian. I'm with Sheet Metal Workers Local 66 Union, and I'm an organizer with them. We represent members from HVAC, architectural, industrial, service, stainless steel, tab, sectors of the sheet metal industry. On behalf of nearly 5,000 workers across Western Washington, I'd like to thank Governor Inslee, Representative Fitzgibbon, Senator Carlisle, and the numerous other legislators who sponsored these carbon reduction and climate policies in the 2021 legislative session. These policies will drive job creation while our state transitions into clean energy economy by making investments in electrification, building efficiency, renewable gas, natural gas, hydrogen production, and much more. But we aren't done yet. This is just the start. We appreciate Governor Inslee's commitment to ensuring maximizing family wage jobs for Washington workers. We believe we can grow a clean energy economy that prioritizes workers in the state of Washington. And we look forward to our partnership to ensure that the success of these bills. Thank you.
Now we're going to sign some bills right now. Can I have the legislator, any legislators, if you can come up with it, please? Could we please come up with the legislators and we'll sign some bills here? Ready to sign some bills here? We're going to sign some bills. So we have before us Senate bill, House bill. Which one are we going to do first here? Josie? Which one? We're going to do hydrofluorocarbons first. Watch the water. That's right. Yeah, it's right there. The hydrofluorocarbons. We're going to do this right now. Okay. Thank you. Well, we're going to do the hydrofluorocarbons bill first here. And I'm double max, so I might, well, we're all max. We're going to wear a max here. I have before me House Bill 1050. This bill is a bill that builds on the federal and state hydrofluorocarbon policies to significantly reduce our emissions. Sir, we have to sign some bills.
Why would you veto?
Listen, I need to sign some bills. I'll be signing some bills. Sir, I'd be happy to talk to you when we're done signing the bills. Thank you.
Fill us out. We helped you.
I'm happy to talk with you after you leave. Sir, at the moment, I'll be happy to talk with you out in the lobby. I will be happy to talk with you in the lobby. Have the conversation out there. I'll be signing the bill right now.
Why
it's time for us to sign some bills here. Let us understand. Democracy shall carry on. Let's have some democracy here, where the laws get effectuated and they get done. Very much. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Look forward to talking with you out in the lobby after we're done signing the bills, sir. We're going to have a nice discussion with this gentleman after I sign some bills here. So we're going to do that very much. Thank you. Listen, we're going to, as I said, Fred, we're going to sign some bills. In a few moments, we're going to sign some bills. That's right. That's right. We're going to sign some bills in just a few moments. Here, we're going to sign some bills in just a few moments. Who's in charge? Where's the president? Where's the president?
We helped you.
Where's the president?
We helped you get this bill passed.
You want to join us up here, Cheryl? You want to join us up here?
Climate Commitment Act. You vetoed
Cheryl?
your commitment to consultation with our Washington state tribes. That is shame. 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 Shame.
Yeah, well, let's leave now. Okay. Sign some bills. Okay. We urge you now it's time to sign some bills, please, very much. Thank you very much. Thank you. We urge you now it's time to sign some bills. Thank you very much. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, we urge you, sir. Now it's time we're going to sign some bills, please, if you allow us to do so. We're going to do that. We're going to have to sign some bills. Thank you very much. Let's sign some bills. That's fine.
Are you lost? Are you lost like Columbus?
Gentlemen, we heard you. We heard you. Now it's time to sign some bills, okay? Let's just kind of, I'll talk to you out in the lobby here in a few minutes. I'm happy to do that. I'm happy to do that. We'll sign some bills and then we'll have a discussion. That'll be really good. I'm happy about that. We'll be looking forward to that.
Stand with our people.
It's time to sign some bills. We heard you. We heard you. We got your
Our
point.
sacred sites matter.
We got your point. Time to leave.
Cultural genocide.
Okay.
Not to stand by.
We're going to sign some bills now, and I'll be looking forward to talking to you a little bit later. Thank you very much. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great day in the state of Washington. It's a great day. We had a lot of voices that came into the presentation of the way to fight climate change. Fighting climate change isn't easy. It requires change, and there's controversy associated with it, as we've just recognized. And we've listened to that controversy, and we've made decisions that are going to save Washington State for everyone. And I'm proud that we're moving forward to save our salmon. I'm proud to have the best environmental justice bills in the United States. I'm proud to have signed the HEAL Act that will make sure the state government considers environmental justice in everything we do. I'm proud of what we're doing for everyone in the state of Washington, including the first Washingtonians, which is our indigenous people. And I look forward to continue that work. But right now, we have House Bill 1050. This bill builds on federal and state hydrofluorocarbon policies to significantly reduce our emissions. Hydrofluorocarbons are extremely potent greenhouse gases. They're one of the fastest growing sources of emissions in Washington, contributing to about 4 million tons of carbon dioxide equivalent pollution a year. This bill helps us limit the impacts of climate change on Washington's water supplies, coastlines, forests, farms, and communities. Thanks, Representative Fitzgibbon and everybody who worked on this bill. I'm happy to sign this bill. Okay. If you'll bear with me for a few moments here. Could you check that before we proceed? Could you just check it right now? Just make sure you know. We got it? Yep. Okay, do we have their comments here? I'm looking for my comments. I'm sorry. Okay. Okay, we have, at long last, Senate Bill 5126, the Climate Commitment Act. This will help us reduce pollution and invest in clean energy solutions for our state. This bill caps and reduces climate pollution while creating revenue that will allow us to invest in accelerating the transition to clean energy, clean transportation, and natural climate solutions, and community resilience. And the bill monitors and cleans up air pollution to address the disproportionate impact of air pollution on overburdened communities. I want to thank the principal sponsor, Senator Carlisle, whose leadership was incredible shepherding this bill to my desk. I am vetoing 2 sections of the bill. I am deeply committed to working with tribes in addressing the climate crisis and to implementing the provisions of this act, including government-to-government consultation. Today I'm vetoing Section 6 of this bill, which contains a provision that differs from our current government-to-government approach. It does not properly recognize the mutual sovereign relationship between tribal governors and the state. In particular, there are legal concerns with the undefined and broad requirement for tribal consent in the use of climate investment funds and for the lack of due process when consent is withheld. And I look forward to working with tribes to a more perfect resolution of this effort. I will be requesting formal consultation with tribal leaders to jointly develop improved consultation procedures. These procedures must strengthen our ability to work together as both sovereign governments and committed partners to advance our many mutual interests. I look forward to personally investing time in that work and will be inviting tribal leaders to join me at a summit dedicated to this purpose. I'm also vetoing Section 22. Section 22 contains provisions related to compliance with the new Cap and Invest program. But those key compliance requirements are duplicated and fully provided for elsewhere in the Act. It also contains a provision that delays this critical climate and clean air rule law from taking effect unless and until at least a 5-cent per gallon gas tax increase is enacted by the state. We no longer have time for delay to save ourselves from climate change. We have to begin work immediately and in full today. And I understand the intent of this edition is to highlight the urgency of infrastructure investment. I am deeply committed to working with legislators to pass a transportation revenue package as soon as possible, and hopefully by later this year. I do expect legislators will immediately begin work on crafting a transportation package to make this possible. We have critical transportation infrastructure needs, including preservation and maintenance of our existing system, expanding clean and just solutions for communities, and replacing our aging ferry fleet, all of which are critical for moving people and goods. We've got to commit both to fighting climate change and investing in transportation. And these vetoes are no showing of disrespect for the legislature. They did a great job, most fantastic legislative session probably in Washington state history. And they should be exalted for their work, because they created climate change bills that are tremendous if they are implemented. But we want them implemented. We don't want them to hide their light under a bushel. We want everybody to see the Mona Lisa they have created by making sure that they are implemented. And I'm pleased to make sure they will be implemented by the decisions that we make today. So again, I want to thank everyone for your work on this. It is an important moment for our state. It's a moment that I cherish, because it's a moment that means, if I can just put a personal note on it, that my grandkids and their grandkids are going to have a shot at the most beautiful state anywhere on the planet. And if you looked up at Mount Rainier yesterday in the sunshine and saw that sun glistening on the snows, we all know it's time not to let those glaciers go by due to our failure to act. We are acting today the best way Washingtonians can, which is based on confidence in ourselves. We have confidence we can tame this beast. We have confidence we can build a clean energy economy. And I'm signing a very confident bill here, Senate Bill 5126. Congratulations. Okay, I have before me House Bill 1091. This creates a clean fuel standard that will reduce climate pollution from transportation. In addition to reducing pollution from our largest source of greenhouse emissions, cleaner fuels will give Washingtonians cleaner air to breathe, create new jobs across the state, and give consumers cleaner transportation options. With this bill, we join our neighbors to the north and south in both reducing our emissions and saving consumers money, thanks to sponsor Representative Joe Fitzgibbon. And like the Cap and Invest bill, this bill contains the same provision that unnecessarily delays climate, clean air, and clean fuels progress from taking effect, unless and until at least a 5-cent per gallon gas increase is enacted. I am vetoing subsection 8 of section 3, which operates inappropriately as a delayed effective date. Again, I am fully committed to working with legislators to pass a transportation package this year. We can advance climate action, clean up air pollution, and invest in a clean, safe, just, and efficient transportation system to move people and goods and support a thriving economy. We can and must take action for climate change and clean air. Times are wasting, and with that, I'm happy to sign another great climate change bill, and it's the right thing to do. Our people can't wait any longer, and with that, I'm signing House Bill 1091.
Good job, Phil. Good job.
Keep it up. Keep talking.
Hey, you. Hey, how's it going?